there was bodies spilled out of the backside of the open ramp of the 47. And I remember seeing, like, the thermal, heat signatures are white, right? And you could see their white bodies slowly turn to black.
Roger, we have a fallen angel. Extortion. Hold us in traffic. Anybody out there? We have a fallen angel.
You've got an amazing force. You've got the world's best sitting in the back of this flying school bus. It lands down, they shoot it out of the sky. That loss is felt this moment.
Jason Workman's wife and family wanted me to... Workman was my boy.
Things happen in war, things that you wish didn't happen, you wish it wasn't a reality. It's absolutely a reality.
Did not want to get off that train. It's like the train was going on, the operator gets left at the train station.
Doesn't matter how good those dudes were. You couldn't have picked a better... There wasn't a more capable fighting force on the earth than the dudes who were on that helicopter.
She gets like a weird look on her face and she goes, "There's a rainbow behind you."
First deployment in the SEAL teams, you get in, biggest loss in SEAL team history happens. Then you get through Green Team, and right after you graduate, maybe less than a year afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, August of 11.
Extortion17 happens, which again is the biggest loss in SEAL team history. So, let's start there.
Kind of the way we talk about it is, where were you? Where were you when 9/11 happened?
Yeah.
Where were you when June 28th happened? And where were you when August 6th happened? I know exactly where I was. I was sitting in a movie theater with my wife sitting next to me, my shooting buddy's wife, and then my shooting buddy. We're all watching a movie, and we're probably 45 minutes into it, and phone goes off, and you're glued to these things. Can't miss a text message. Like, I mean, the addiction to your phone becomes a real thing. Like, you can't miss a text message. You can't miss a phone call, ever. And his phone goes off, and mine does too, and we both crack him. And we both looked at each other at the same time. And he had got a text from somebody in the White House, a staffer, used to be a team guy, and he said, "Call me right now." And I had the exact same thing, the exact same time, that said, "Call me right now," from a different guy. Okay. And he texts back, "What's up?" And he said, "Afghanistan, helo, and get to work." I looked right at my old lady, "Get up." Walked right out of that movie. They split and drove each other home, and I jumped in the car with him. We drove straight to work.
3 days before I was going to rotate out to come back home, extortion happened.
Oh, man.
And we were supposed to go out that night. So we were in Jalalabad, and they were in, I can't remember where they were, but we had the birds or so, like our 160th guys. We had weather or something. They couldn't fly, so we didn't go. So they couldn't get our birds, so they used National Guard ones to go do their op. And I remember being in my, we got a deployment, you got all your individual rooms, and you got like a common area where, the coffee's made, and you got the video games, and you watch TV, and got the couches. I remember sitting in there with my freaking feet propped up, just chilling, watching probably Rescue Me or something good. And my team leader comes in, he's like, "Hey, a bird just went down." And he's like, it's our boy's bird. Like, there was 2 of them. One of them had all our guys, another one had just the air crew. Devastating, regardless of which one shot down. So obviously we're hoping it's the one without our boys. Less lives lost, right? So we all like rush over and they got it up, pulled up on, I can't remember if we were starting to get our gear on or we were trying to get SA, situation awareness, of what was going on. But I remember watching the TV screen, like this huge monitor, and they had the thermal from ISR looking down, and you could see the helicopter down. And there was bodies spilled out of the backside of the open ramp of the 47. And I remember seeing, like, on the thermal, you know, heat signatures are white, right? And you could see their white bodies slowly turn to black, and their life was leaving them, and they were gone.
Everybody was in there. Like, it was spreading fast. Nobody had any real details. I mean, we did, but it went into, it turned into a fucking circus. It was like I was reliving a movie that I'd already seen that I didn't want to know the ending of. I've been here before. Like, I already knew what this is. All the notifications, basically everybody's throwing on dress blues, they're driving out. Me and my wife are grabbing groceries and gallons of Starbucks and dropping off at Gold Star houses. Just really trying to take care of our own. That's one good thing about the Gold Star community is they know exactly what they need. So basically the notification team would go out and then we would roll in behind and drop off gifts, you know, groceries. We pick up kids from school. We do whatever we could. And that's the collective, that's everybody. It's just what you did. Trying to make sense of what had actually happened. There's just no good way to go about that. I mean, that loss is felt this moment. Like, that didn't happen. How did this happen again? And you couldn't explain why. I mean, things happen in war. Things that you wish didn't happen. You wish it wasn't a reality. It's absolutely reality. It's another reality check. Doesn't matter how good those dudes were. You couldn't have picked a better... There wasn't a more capable fighting force on the earth than the dudes were on that helicopter. And it didn't matter. It did not matter. Gone in an instant. It's like, how are you going to come back from that? And then selfishly, how are we going to take care of all these families? Like, what do we do now? It's like every foundation just dumped in, trying to support, trying to do whatever they could to... I mean, inside of that, we're trying to rebuild. Like, we're still fighting the GWAT. Like, we can't let this be our defining moment. We just can't. We've been through this thing before. Unfortunately, the CO at the time had been through this exact same thing. He was a Group 2 Commodore when Red Wings happened. He had been through this whole thing.
We all go get our gear on. We're grabbing quickie saws in case we got to cut dudes out. We're grabbing anything and everything that we think for this rescue operation / keeping the enemy at bay. And they wouldn't let us go out. They were sending the Rangers. And the decision was made by our CO. And at that time, I wanted to stick my fist through his face. I was like, how dare you? That's our boys. How dare you? But thinking about it now, always hindsight, right? He didn't want those images to be our last images of those guys. But, you know, some of the Rangers more than capable of taking care of that. They did a great job. They were out there for probably, I think, 3 days dealing with that, getting the bodies. So we get the bodies back, and we had, you know, I think it was a total of like 38 or something like that. And we had 2 C-17s to get all these bodies back to Dover. And it was my time to go back a couple days later. So I was one of the guys that, there was like 4 of us, escorted all the bodies back to Dover to meet the family members of all these guys. And when I was over there, I was told by my team leader, because the command got in touch with everyone, and Jason Workman's really sneaks up on you. Jason Workman's wife and family wanted me to... Workman was my boy. Wanted me to escort his body back. to Blanding, Utah for memorial service. And then take him to Arlington where he was going to be put in the ground. So, of course, I wouldn't refuse that. So I talked to the doctor or whatever who was dealing with the bodies, and I had him point out workmen's, and most of the bodies were, they were charred. You couldn't tell who they were, but workmen had some tattoos, and he showed me his casket. So steel caskets. And I put my ground pad next to him, put my sleeping bag next to him, sat there, laid there, ate there. And you know how they always tell you, like on takeoff, like, please sit down, buckle up? They wouldn't dare ask that. Just lay there the whole time next to him, put my back on his casket, and just escort him all the way back, get to Dover. And then we land, the whole family's there, and just seeing.
Put a plan into action. We had to rebuild the force, had to take care of all the families, take care of all the kids. Me and Patsy started making memorial t-shirts within 12 hours. Just trying to raise money, just trying to do anything. That's what a lot of people don't realize is there's a gap. Like, if you're pronounced dead, your paycheck stops. There's a long gap before any kind of life insurance comes in or any kind of support. So the only thing that puts food on the table, the only thing that puts gas in the cars are foundations. Like people that are raising money. And we don't know how long that gap's going to be. Like now we've got big name foundations that really lend a helping hand, but it doesn't matter. To them, to that singular family, the whole world just came crashing down. It's over. Like, it'll never be okay now. It's like anything you can do to try to lighten that burden, you try to. That's making a memorial t-shirt, that's, picking up the kids and having them make skateboards, whatever it might be. You have to do something. But I'll tell you what, that was a super dose of reality. Because doing a lot of shit in helos, and it's like, that's the reality. That is exactly what is going to happen. Like, there's nothing you can do for that. It doesn't matter. Like, you can't plan for that. You just can't. I mean, you can try to do things, but a helo gets shot down with all those people on board. There's no good scenario out of that. And it crippled us. We had to rebuild the force, and every team had to give up bodies. And that was the whole point of contention. Like, people wanting to rebuild, people not wanting to rebuild. I don't want to go. I want to go. Just, it was a circus there for a couple weeks. It was.
Do you want to describe a little bit more in detail how many lost, what happened?
Well, without getting many specifics, the weather was not in favor. It was a high illume night, and a force went out and got contacted and needed to launch a QRF, and they launched in that troop to be a QRF, and on final they got shot down. Everybody's in there, like, you've got an amazing force, you've got the world's best sitting in the back of this flying school bus. It lands down, they shoot it out of the sky.
Just to see the families, man, and their faces, and the tears, and the kids that had no clue,
Man,
that their dad's gone, their uncle's gone.